let's first take a look at where we are right now, the fourth industrial revolution, where artificial intelligence, or AI as we now know it, is transforming just about every experience in our lives. Over the last 300 years, our world has seen incredible innovation. We've seen unprecedented technology changing. Like look at 1700s, which was the first industrial revolution where we saw steam. And then we talk about electricity in the 1800s, which was termed as the second industrial revolution. The third, with computing in the 1900s, something we've all possibly, or some of us at least, have seen more closely. And today, as we now talk about entering the fourth industrial revolution, where robotics, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, all of those have become buzzwords. But more importantly, these technologies are transforming lives. AI is making devices and apps smarter. You just saw how NVIDIA is doing some of that. That's really brought about real changes. These are not technologies we're talking about in the future. This is not a science fiction movie anymore. This is real. It is happening as we speak, and that's why I think all of us are extremely fortunate that we're a part of this fourth industrial revolution, where in some ways the lines between the physical world and the digital world are blurring. But as these lines blur, we also see that we're seeing incredibly new products come up, new services come up, things we hadn't heard of before. Now, who could imagine autonomous cars would be a reality one day? Today, we're actually seeing autonomous cars in reality. They're there, they're happening, we can see them. Connected coolers for aerated drinks, for instance. Now, those are all smart technologies, artificial intelligence that's permeated our lives in a way that we possibly haven't even realized. As we see this change in our everyday lives, whether it's shopping via voice command, autonomous cars, or any smart devices that keep us connected and always on, the one question that we're asking, what will the fourth industrial revolution do to jobs, to the future of work? Will we see the impact in a manner which will be more profound than what we could have ever thought of? And that's the biggest question we need to perhaps answer right now. Will machines replace humans? Will robots, the kind of robots you just saw in the earlier presentation, take away all of our jobs? Will we be relevant in the job market or not? As technological revolutions are being accompanied by a fundamental disruption in the labor market, it is true that some traditional forms of employment will be completely obsolete. But at the same time, it will perhaps give rise to new forms of jobs, new kinds of employment structures. But the pace and scale of the technological revolution is creating some sort of a deep sense of anxiety right now. We're all anxious about what this future of work would be. When we look at our children, we wonder what skill sets do they need now to ensure that they will have a job a few years down the line, and perhaps none of us have those real answers. But discussions around the development of AI, machine learning, automation are now closely being followed because of the displacement impact it will have on workers whose jobs can eventually be replicated or even replaced by machines. Just last month, we heard Prime Minister Modi at the World Congress on IT talk about future skills. Because every government today realizes that if they are not ahead in the game, if they're not moving with the times, if they're not keeping pace with these technological developments, not understanding that do we need a policy structure around artificial intelligence, we may perhaps not be part of the race. We may perhaps not change faster than what we're required to make sure we're keeping pace with these technological developments. But more importantly, we're keeping pace with the future of work. We're being able to skill, reskill, upskill, and learn some of these new skills that make jobs very, very relevant. So while there are challenges, there are also opportunities. There are huge opportunities primarily for those who can learn to unlock the right skills. A recent report by IDC, for instance, has predicted that AI could unleash unprecedented levels of workplace productivity, boost global revenues by as much as $121 billion over the next 5 years, and it can even generate more jobs than what it would replace. And that's a critical bit we all need to understand, because as we keep talking about automation, machine learning, AI replacing jobs, we also need to understand that it will create jobs and perhaps create more jobs than it will replace. But how will that happen, and who will get those jobs? Well, the McKinsey Global Institute says 75 million to about 375 million. That's a wide number, but anything between 75 million to 375 million workers will need to switch careers by 2030. Now, that is a huge responsibility for governments, for industry, for academia to fulfill and to ensure that we're catering to those demands. Let's talk about India now as an economy. Are we best suited? Are we well placed to embrace this change? Well, India is at the crossroads. It has the largest young workforce anywhere in the world. It's the fastest growing economy today. At the same time, the economy is not creating enough jobs, and it's not fully harnessing its own demographic dividend, a term that we use very often about India. But we need to be prepared for this fourth industrial revolution. And why is it that we're perhaps in a good spot? That's because with over 1 lakh villages linked with optical fiber, 121 crore mobile phones, 120 crore Aadhaar numbers, hopefully, 50 crore internet users, India perhaps is one such country that is best placed to leverage the power of technology to leapfrog into the future while ensuring empowerment of every citizen. So while there are challenges, there are opportunities. India, on one hand, very, very vulnerable, just because of the number of jobs we need, but also because we are perhaps best placed to take advantage of this fourth industrial revolution. And those are just some buzzwords we talk about very often today. We hear them every day. It's become such a, I would say, fad now to talk about AI that even within the government of India today, there are 6 committees that are looking into artificial intelligence, and we're all still trying to figure out what those 6 committees are doing. But as someone who deals with government on a daily basis, I can tell you every industry body today has an AI committee. Every ministry wants to do something around artificial intelligence. And believe you me, most of them are figuring out what. But they do understand that this is something they need to keep pace with. This is something they need to talk about. This is something that they need to bring about as part of active change before technology will completely take over and we would not be able to keep pace with the demands of today's technology. The future is far from uncertain, but by empowering today's students and workers to be lifelong learners, we will create a society that will be better able to thrive in a rapidly changing workplace. A little bit now about Salesforce. As you know, Salesforce is the world's #1 CRM company, a cloud computing giant with a market cap today of about $90 billion. At Salesforce, we believe in the model of lifelong learning. We are, in fact, focusing on the role of technology industry in supporting governments, supporting other businesses, supporting academia, supporting academic institutions, students and workers through this period of change. We believe it is our responsibility to ensure that we're the ones who are leading all the stakeholders in a way that they're able to embrace change and not get bogged down by the kind of change we're seeing. So what we are calling for at a forum like this, at a platform like this, is openness to re-examine traditional methods of learning. For educators, for technology industry to continue to widen and deepen their collaboration, the kind of collaboration we just heard about between industry and academia, because that is where the future will be, to make sure that we are creating a new formula today for education, for future of work. And what is that new formula? The new formula is right there on the screen. Learn, unlearn, relearn. None of us should be afraid now to be lifelong learners, because that will be the key to success. Are we willing to learn? Are we willing to unlearn some of what we've learned? And are we willing to relearn? Are we willing to change our education models drastically? A quick look at Trailhead, which is Salesforce's learning model. For many people, a bachelor's degree or a vocational certification is the end to their formal learning journey. That's how most of us have grown up. For us, it was very, very critical to ensure that we're getting good grades when we go to school, high school, college. We land up in good jobs. Today, we strive to ensure that our kids are getting into Ivy League institutes. But is that what will matter in the years to come, at a time when the learning model has changed dramatically, when skill sets required by many companies are changing literally by the day? Non-traditional education, increasingly which is being delivered online, is now becoming a popular way to upskill or to reskill. And that's the big shift we're seeing. Do we necessarily need physical classrooms anymore? Or can we just go ahead and adopt the online learning model where there is a lot of focus on self-learning, where we feel that we need to go ahead and acquire that skill set, which is available literally at the tap of a button, and we don't really need to go into a physical classroom to go ahead and acquire any of that education. So an example of that is what you see on your screen, which is Trailhead, which is a platform that offers free and self-paced learning modules to help, whether it's developers, administrators, business users, all of them, they can gain certification in new technologies, in cloud technologies, in a very, very simple and easy way. That's all perhaps you need now to be job worthy, to have the skill sets needed to go ahead and apply for a job or be successful in a job. The vision is for this to be the start of a model that other organizations then use to train and retrain workers across their ecosystem, creating an environment of constant learning and career growth. And this in many ways explains that Salesforce ecosystem that we talk about, how you can go ahead and learn online. There are also in-class options if that's a model that you still prefer. You go ahead and earn because you can simply grow your resume with skill-based credentials. Today we live in a world where acquiring skill-based credentials has become extremely critical rather than just the kind of plain vanilla degrees that we used to see in the earlier world. So, because it's a gamified learning model that we offer at Trailhead, it's different ranks, different super badges, and other credentials that you can learn as you go along. And then, of course, you connect. Because, again, in today's world, the connections are a lot different. They're just different from the way we used to connect earlier. But we call it a community of trailblazers. And this allows you to connect with this community of trailblazers in a very easy and impactful manner. A quick look at a term that IDC has coined to help you understand the impact companies like Salesforce are having, not just on its employees or its customers, but on the economy as such. And that's the term that we call the Salesforce economy. Salesforce and its ecosystem of customers, employees, partners, administrators, developers, the entire ecosystem will drive the creation of 3.3 million new jobs and more than $859 billion in new business revenues, all this by just 2022. In fact, in addition, by 2022, the Salesforce partner ecosystem will gain $5 for every dollar that Salesforce earns. So it's no longer just about companies and their profits or about their market cap or about their market share. It's about what companies are doing for the larger ecosystem, what companies are doing for job creation, for embracing the kind of technological change that we are seeing right now. And that brings me to my last slide, really, which is about who are the stakeholders who need to embrace this change. What is the future of work that we're really talking about? Well, let's try and name some of these stakeholders. Definitely all of us sitting in the room, because each one of us has a part to play here. Governments, businesses, educators, academia, unions, everyone has collective responsibility to ensure that we are a part of this fourth industrial revolution, not just because of the timing of it, because we happen to be in this era where the fourth industrial revolution is taking place, but also because we are an active member, an active participant of this revolution. We should be ready to learn, relearn, find countless new opportunities, and it's our job to make sure we support and advise everybody, regardless of the level of their journey. To ensure that we light the path to a lifetime of productive and fulfilling work. And the reason why I say this is because I come to you from an experience of having unlearned, relearned, and learned a lot. I have now a career which lasts about 2 decades, and for the first half of my career, which is nearly 18, 19 years, I was a journalist, very different from the corporate world. Had skill sets which were way different from what you require in today's world. The IT industry was completely new to me. But the one thing that was very clear was that if you do not understand the need to relearn, to upskill yourself, to reskill yourself, and to embrace change positively, you will not be a part of this revolution. So I urge each one of you sitting here to be lifelong learners, to be willing to go ahead and acquire new skill sets, and to encourage the kind of conversations we're having today in this large room, which is that What will technologies like artificial intelligence, what will technologies like machine learning, deep learning, IoT, what is all of this going to do to the world that we are going to be in? Will we embrace it, or are we going to let it create the kind of havoc we all fear, which is displacement of jobs, machines taking over, robots ruling lives, huge unemployment? We can ensure that none of that happens if we embrace technology, if we decide to reskill, upskill, and if the industry and academia partner together to make sure that we are going ahead and taking the responsibility of ensuring the future of work is very, very bright. Thank you so much.